Hello, welcome to another Explain video. Today I'm going to be recreating the initial video I made for this channel. It's bringing the Reality XP Garmin products into the 3D model of an XP11 aircraft. I'm going to use the default Baron 58 today, just because that's a nice easy one for everyone to follow along with. So effectively, what we're going to be trying to achieve, if I use the background image here as a visual aid, the 3D cockpit within the model essentially is made up of holes where the screens and gauges live. And what we're going to try to do, if we take this nav display as an example, is effectively hijack this section of the display and insert the GTN 750 within that window. Now, it's the easiest method to do this. Unfortunately, if you're trying to say take over here where there currently is no window, you'd need to physically edit the 3D object within a program such as Blender. Likewise, trying to put the GTN 750 bezel instead of the 530 unit as a whole requires a fair amount of skill in 3D modeling, and it's not something I'm capable of doing. And looks like not many people at all are able to do that based on the very few community mods available for that type of thing. So today we're just going to just hijack the 530 screen in the Baron. The first thing we're going to want to do is go into settings under keyboard. We're going to search for a command called make screenshot of your panels. So I've got my default key binding set to FSX. If you're using XP11 or XP10 as the default, this may be slightly different, but for me it's shift control space. If you really need to change it, the little plus icon here, and that'll let you put whatever you want in there. So I'll just ignore that change. So shift control space is what we want. So going to bring up the Baron 58, and while that's loading, if I just come back to XP11, so this is the main XP11 folder. From here we want to go to aircraft. Laminar research for all of the default ones, the Baron 58, this will be the main folder for all the Baron's files. And from within here, we want to go to Cockpit 3D panels. And this is where that screenshot of the panel that we're about to take will turn up. Alright, so we've got the Baron loaded now. I'm just going to hide the yoke. Now at the moment, if we took the screenshot now, we're going to get nothing because all the screens are turned off. So we want to turn on the avionics. If you're in an aircraft that's got some kind of test function that illuminates everything, go ahead and hit that. And now that it's on, we're going to go Control Shift Space, and we should now get our little image in here. So I'm just going to edit this, and that'll open it up in Microsoft Paint for a Windows system. I'm just going to zoom in so it's easier to be accurate. So what we're going to do down the bottom left here, it gives the X and Y position of the cursor within Microsoft Paint. So I'm just going to change the paint color to white so it's easy to see. So we're just going to take these X and Y values and we're just going to pop them in this spreadsheet just so it's easy to capture on the screen. You can use pen and paper, it's just very basic mathematics that we're going to use here. So before we go taking those points, just going to have a quick look at what we've captured versus what we can see. So it looks like up the top that's pretty accurate. Down the bottom here there's not very much black at all, whereas down here we've got a lot. So we're just going to have to adjust that slightly in the numbers that we're going to take. So the top left position is the first one we want, so I'm just going to position the cursor in the top left pixel, which is probably that one, so 275356. And then we want the bottom right, which you just need to make an adjustment of our own here. I reckon probably that one, 534547. Alright, so now that we've got that, we'll be able to determine the 4 points we need. So this is the code out of the Reality XP configuration file for the GTN 750. I believe it's the same with all the products. So what we need to find is the left position, the top position, the width of the gauge, and the height. So the first one left, that one's nice and easy. So the top left, we just need the x-axis, so 275 is left. Now top 356, we're 356 pixels down from the bottom. In this case, Microsoft Paint differs to XP11. Within Paint, at the top you have pixel 0. The bottom, in this case, because it's 1024 by 1024, is going to be pixel 1024. XP11 is the opposite. The top is 1024. So we need to find the 356th pixel from the top. So just a basic subtraction should give you 668 as the top number. And again, now just basic subtraction. So the width, which is the x-axis, so it's 534 off 275. And the y-axis, 547 off 356. So that should be the position we want this gauge. So I'm going to come back into XP11. I'm going to go up to the top menu bar, plugins, Reality XP GTN1, and I'm going to initialize the GTN 750. So this will create the configuration file that we want to play with. And if we come back to the Baron 58 main file, main folder, I should say. We've now got this file here, reality xp.gtn, and if I had file extensions on, that would be .ini. Now, if you've not opened one of these files before, you're going to have to right-click it, go to open with. Now, I've opened it before, so I've got default options here, but if you don't, go to choose another app, more apps, and you should find Notepad somewhere in here. So we'll open it up with Notepad, and this is the configuration file for the GTN unit that we just initialized. So in this case, it's unit number 1. If this was a dual GPS system, if there was a 430 here as well that we were replacing, then that could be unit number 2 for the second one. So what we want to do in here, so we've got the GTN 750, which is the main settings for the unit. Below that is the window, which is going to be the pop-up, and then finally we've got panels. So this is the section that we're interested in, GTN 750 panels. Now it's important to make sure that this part here, panels, matches the basic data. So we want to draw to the window and the panels. So that needs to match what you've got up here if you go changing the name. In this case, the first line here, so display window if true, we want that to be true. That's the entire point of what we're trying to do. And then after that, we're looking for this section here, so display position and dimensions, which is exactly what I've got over here in the Excel file. So all we need to do is just overwrite these 4 numbers. So it's 275, 668, 259, 191. And that just matches the description. So anything with a semicolon is a description for the line below it. So in this case, the display position dimensions, left, top, width, height, which is what we've got from our file here. So I'm going to go and save that and jump across back to XP11. From the menu bar, go to Developer and reload the current aircraft. I'm going to skip the art reload because that's not what we're doing today. We're looking at the gauges. Now at this point, X-Plane may lock up a little bit, may even crash. That's what we're looking for. So we've now got a GTN 750 where the Garmin 530 used to live. Now if this hasn't come up for you, just double check that you do have it set to true. That must be set true, visible, and panels must match up here as well. So that's normally the 2 that'll throw it out if it doesn't come out. Otherwise, your numbers should be roughly accurate to get it somewhere within this window. So we can see here, if I zoom in on it a bit, I reckon we've estimated that one pretty well. Now obviously this is a very small version. An actual 750 would probably take up the entire 530 plus half of this Navcom unit, so it's quite a condensed version. It's probably not quite the right aspect ratio either, so it's a little bit distorted. But sitting in the 3D cockpit here, you can certainly read it well enough to be able to read the desired track, vertical speed required, that kind of stuff while you're flying along. So in this case, we've pretty much hit it right in the right spot. If we did need to adjust it, we'd be coming back here. So the left position, if we needed to shift this image across to the right, if it was sort of cut off here, and we wanted to shift this image across to the right, in that case we're going to be increasing this number. So we're 275 now, we might go up 2 pixels depending on how far out we are. The top is sort of counterintuitive again, because 1024 is the top number. If you wanted to move this up, we'd be increasing the number, so say 670, and that'll move that image up within the frame that we're working with. In this case it's pretty good, so we're just going to leave it there. If you did need to adjust those, just make those tweaks, go back to File, Save, back up the top, Developer, reload the current aircraft. So we've got it roughly in the right spot, so we'll just move on to a couple of basic configurations. Now the first thing I like to do, the default transponder code is 1200, which is all well and good, but I've put this into a Baron. I like to fly IFR, and the default IFR code for outside controlled airspace is 2000, so I'm going to change it to that. In order to do that though, I need to access more settings than we've got available. So at the moment, that setting isn't here. I don't have it. So what I'm going to do is come back to the GTN settings, scroll all the way down to the bottom. It's got this optimized settings file. So we want to deselect that because I want all of the, I don't want you to skip anything. I want all of the settings available to me. And hit save. And then I'm going to exit from XP11 because it doesn't like you playing with this file at the same time as having it open. 9 times out of 10, XP will crash at this point, which it looks like it's going to do. Oh no, it exited. Perfect. So we reopen. There we go. So now we've got a whole heap of settings in here. If it does crash, you may need to just relaunch XP11. Change that setting and close it straight away. It's just because you've been playing with this file at the same time as having it open in XP11 that it doesn't particularly like that. So within all the settings that we've now got, I'm just going to scroll down to the transponder section, which is here. So the options it gives us, so the semicolon is the comment line, so select transponder code. Use code, VFR or in US or VFR in Europe. Now I'm going to go to use code. So I'm just going to overwrite VFR mode equals, and I'm going to use exactly how they've got it, use code, sets transponder VFR code, and as a hashtag and 4 numbers. So out here, IFR outside controlled airspace defaults to 2000, so that's what I'm going to select. So that's the only one that I really want to change within this format. The rest of it I can do within XP11. So we'll save that, reopen XP. Alright, so I'm back within the Baron. So bring on the battery and the avionics. So now we can see that's taken. Our default code is now 2000. And fire up the GTN. Now just bring up a pop-up so it's easy to see what we're doing. I'll just shove Brisbane in the back. Alright, so I can come back up now to the plugins, Reality XP GTN1 and settings. And we'll just finish off the video by looking at a couple of the settings we've got available to us. So it's re-defaulted to optimized settings, so we no longer have access to that transponder code that we just changed. So if you wanted to change it again, you'd need to deselect again. But what we want to look at, so if you had a dual GPS setup, the master device is going to be the one that drives the autopilot. So the master device, connect GPS to the autopilot and connect to the HSI, which is this fella down here, the horizontal situation indicator. So the course bar here is what we have next. So connect to the HSI course auto slew. So in this case, desired tracks 168, it's not followed it. So if we select that and then accept, it will now start driving the course bar around. Come back into where we were. So the next option is the opposite sense. So if I go to OBS, let's say we want 180. Let's done it on Brisbane. I want Sunshine Coast OBS 180. It's not going to let me do it now. Alright, we've got there in the end. Okay, so hypothetically, if we use the VOR instead of that, maybe they've told us to track outbound on the 180 radial, so we can set up OBS 180. And in this case, it's physically asked us what it is. If we select the course in option, it'll just read what we've got set on the CDI. So we'll track outbound on 060, and it'll just do that instead of asking us, so we can change it around as 060 again, and it'll drag it through into the Reality XP. Connect GPS to VOR is a handy option for aircraft that don't have GPS at all, in which case more than likely only using the pop-up window, because there's probably nowhere to really hijack like we've done here with the 530. So in that case, it's just going to force the data into the VOR, and it'll make it reliant upon this CDI switch here to go between the VOR or the GPS display on the VOR indicator that you've got installed on the aircraft. The next option, the sync mode, I like to sync both ways. So at the moment, because I haven't pressed accept, we can see the GTN takes priority over here. The nav GPS is changing when I change it in the GTN, and if I do it over here, it just overrides. So I like to sync both ways, and just so we're able to, that one might need a restart. Okay, back in XP11, it's clearly not a big fan of me changing these one by one, so it did crash there, but we're back up. So now we should have this sync function working. And I'll bring the pop-up up again. We want map. Okay, so now we should be able to over here select nav, and we can see it's changing it over here as well. So we've just got the one function rather than potentially getting mixed up with what mode everything's in. So that's my preferred option, to have them sync both ways. The other options that we've got in here, so the data computers, basically sensors, so it'll feed airspeed information, wind information in, fuel information in. Audio panel, if we get rid of audio panel and transponder, it effectively removes this top section here and just replaces it with more of a Garmin 430 style, where it's just got individual data blocks up here with desired track speed, all that kind of stuff. Transponder code we did in the physical code of the file, and from there it's pretty self-explanatory stuff down through here. So this is unit number 1, so it's going to be doing COM1 nav1 and GPS 1. Fuel type for a Baron is avgas. We'll make it a twin engine, and the power source I'm going to select to avionics bus. So that generally will be the one you want to link it on there. Some of the add-on aircraft, it might be one of these numbered bus here. You might have to play around slightly with that. And the clock source for me, I like to put it on computer, because I tend to fly online if a controller asks me for an estimate at a particular waypoint. It's no good coming in here looking at what the GTN reckons the estimate's going to be, just to realise that it's out by 6 hours and 32 minutes or something like that. I'd rather just have it run off the real time within the GTN itself. Outside of that, the only other real options we typically want to play with down the bottom here, VNav is the one that provides this vertical speed required that I've got selected up here, and the VNav function, if we change that to VCalc, it'll pretty much remove all of those functions. And same with transition altitude, you can adjust the default down if 180 isn't going to be the most appropriate one. But outside of that, that's pretty much our GTN 750 setup and ready to go. So that's the basic method anyway of getting a GTN 750 display within a XP11 3D cockpit. Just put a basic flight plan in the back there. It's a little bit distorted, but there we go. So with some basic information there, we can still, flying along, we can still clearly see that desired track's 168. We've got 46.6 miles to run, and we're doing 0 knots because we're on the ground shut down. So although it's a little bit distorted, it is still fairly usable in that state. So I hope that'll help you in adding this into your aircraft. If you've found the video helpful, please give us a like. Drop a comment if you've got suggestions for future videos, and we'll see you in the next video.